Sing it, Ralph.
Go, Ralph, go.
Bring us in, Ralph.
Oh, I got stage fright right now. Honestly, I just can't think of a horrible song to sing. So
something about Doges and NFTs.
That's come up with songs about crypto.
I see live, but it says episode 40.
Yep, I'm gonna do episode 41 real quick and change that up. Sorry. All right, I think we're live. All right, episode 41. We're here.
We ham jammed it. We made it.
We made it.
Welcome to the
internet is hard.
Welcome to PancakeSwap podcast. that was such a fail of an intro. But we're here.
We can work on it.
And so this week we've got a few people around this week. We've got Corey. What's up, Corey? How's it going, man?
Oh, I'm here for my lawn chair and the empty
literally lawn chair, right?
These lawn chair critics.
You got rugged, didn't you? What happened on PancakeSwap? You get rugged by somebody?
Yeah, so I had I decided that I could YOLO everything into GME swaps, and it didn't go well. So I sold all my furniture to pay my utilities this month.
Awesome.
There's still people coming over and just buying shit from you.
Some guy's gonna come buy this lawn chair out from under me while we're on the show.
So in addition to Corey, we've got Ralph. What's up, Ralph?
Hey, what's going on?
Not much, man.
I'm back.
Welcome back. And we've got Steve Borsch. What's up, man?
Hey, to the moon.
To the
moon.
Oh, I think we're 50K today, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we are.
50K. And ETH is encroaching on 4K, which is pretty awesome.
Yep.
Buckle up, whole show of us talking about the price.
Yeah, speaking of 4K, we've also got Ryan, the shootist, on.
Yes,
what's up, man?
I love 4K.
No.
Someday
4K
we got
all the things.
We got to roll back like episode 4 or 5 and see what the price was back then and do a little nostalgic cut back.
Oh yeah, I still have all the notes from back when we did those episodes back in 2018. I could tell you exactly where.
Play like the little harp sound in the world.
Yeah.
2 years ago.
Should I have bought more? Is that what you're trying to say? I don't understand how this works.
No, you definitely got enough, Ralph. Don't worry about it.
I heard it all went into hard drives or something.
Yes, that's true. You do. Is when you make money in crypto, you actually just roll that into buying more crypto. Yes, it's just like a continual cycle. Yeah, and then
that's
hard drives.
That's how the house wins.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, when the whole world collapses, I'll have hard drives.
Yeah.
Ralph's like, I have my own Netflix now. It's called Ralphflix. It just has all the movies. In the apocalypse, he's like, I can't help you with food or water, but if you want a 4K copy of Lord of the Rings, I got you.
Yeah, and there's no power anymore.
It's gonna be it's gonna be a heck of a Plex server, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So,
jeez, dude.
Episode 1 of PancakeSwap podcast was January 9th, 2018. The prices that were Bitcoin was $14,844. Ethereum was at $1,240.
Jeez.
And back then we talked about Ripple, which we don't really talk about Ripple anymore.
Like literally, we haven't mentioned it at all.
But it was at 224.
What's Ripple at today?
I don't know.
224.
I don't. 224.
Hasn't changed much.
Oh.
All right. So, welcome to the show, guys. We've got a few pretty interesting articles to talk through today. First up, let's talk about Electroneum. So this one is kind of interesting because basically Electroneum project, they tweeted a few somewhat concerning tweets about an issue on their network. So they had this tweet that said basically the majority of anomalous network activity affecting 10 of our Electroneum users was swiftly identified and blocked by the Electroneum blockchain moderator layer. But other than that, I don't know, Steve, like there wasn't many details on this, right?
Yeah, and back up on the moderator layer. What is that?
Yeah.
I thought Electroneum was supposed to be, kind of like this free open crypto apparently it's centralized in some fashion. I think what this is referring to is their web wallets. I think they have a whole ecosystem for web wallets. I don't think this would apply to private wallets, but we don't really know because their tweets were very vague. So,
gotta love false reassurances. Hey, we totally caught all the anomalous traffic that we noticed that was anomalous, right? We saw it.
Right.
Yeah. We detected it, but we didn't block it. So
I haven't used
the majority. Like how much wasn't?
Well, it makes you wonder what was the problem, right?
What is this for? Like, what token is this? I haven't even heard of it.
You haven't heard
Electroneum.
of it? Oh man,
we used to run
a mining pool for it. It's big. I think it's a UK based cryptocurrency, and they do a lot of trading and stuff in South Africa or Africa in general. So, it is still pretty big, but I don't think price is too much of an issue there. So it's just weird because this was a fork. So and their code is on GitHub, so we'd have to go back.
The fork of which coin?
I don't recall. I want to say it was a fork of a fork from Bitcoin, but I'd have to go back and look. Maybe SVG even.
Fork of a fork of a fork.
Yeah,
got it.
XVG sounds familiar. But yeah, so the thing that's weird is like you said, they put the wallet system in maintenance mode, right? Which I know they have the mobile app too. Like I have the mobile app, and I actually didn't go look because I had already traded all the Electroneum out maybe a year ago. But what's interesting is I don't like. All right, so if you think about it, like the issue must have been something around like wallet security, I would guess, right? And it makes me wonder, like, was there like an API key or something somebody found that allowed them to send fake transactions? What do you guys think? Like, what could have been the root cause of this?
I have no idea. How does that sound?
Are you talking, Steve? You're muted.
So define anomalous, right? Let's talk about that. At a high level, what would be considered an anomalous transaction on a blockchain? Obviously, we talked like 2 weeks ago about a transfer of an extremely large sum, right? Could be anomalous, or maybe like a smart contract quick update or like rate limits. I mean, what would, just in general, what would be considered anomalous for a blockchain?
Yeah, large transactions. Maybe some sort of, like fake or double spend transactions would be to look for potentially, right? Like maybe if to double spend some of the coins could have been seen as anomalous. But like they said that it affected 10 of their users. So
right, which makes me think maybe it's something with their web portal. Maybe somebody got access to some data and was able to transfer funds through there. Good old SQL injection, right? No, I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, so that's
blockchain is just one big SQL database.
I mean, this could also be seen as maybe it's just like a CRUD stuffing attack. If you think about it, right? Like maybe if somebody's just CRUD stuffing their web portal or whatever to get into accounts, maybe that's the attack vector. But I don't know. Either way, there was not a whole lot of details on this, and that's kind of concerning in and of itself. Like typically, a lot of times in the crypto world, you see a lot more details around these types of things get publicly released.
Yeah, that tweet there kind of implies it was a direct attack against whales, or however you want to define it, right? Maybe it was a phishing attack that targeted them, or like Steve or someone else said, an API attack directly against the Electroneum management interface or whatever. The fact that they're saying like we're gathering evidence and we take attacks on our users seriously means it could just be, hey, someone got phished or someone's wallet got intercepted or something like that.
Right, could be like traditional phishing attack, right?
Yeah.
Right, on Electroneum101.com, they have an Electroneum information page about the moderation level and the fact that they moved to a moderated blockchain. And one of the questions is there a risk of manipulation with moderated blockchain? And one of their answers was, there is a risk if the authenticator key is leaked. However, the extent would be negligible, therefore, and not affect users, exchangers, or miners. So they said then they developed a system to closely monitor that behavior.
Yeah. Something interesting to remember with blockchain is that your bank account balance is public, right? So if you have, if you have a bajillion Electroneums, everyone can see who the whales are and potentially target them based on, that address. So.
All right, moving on. So next up, we have an article about the Cream finance flash loan attack. So this was an attack against the Cream V1 market that occurred on Ethereum. So they suffered an exploit resulting in the loss of 418 million AMP tokens and 1,300 in ETH. And this one is actually kind of fascinating. So the thing about this one is they were audited by a very, very well-known auditing firm, Trail of Bits, back in January. However, this vulnerability was actually introduced after they were audited. So a lot of times what you'll find is like on these swap sites is, they start adding in new token pairs, right? So like as new coins come out or whatever, they add new tokens for people to trade. And in this case, they added in the AMP token. And AMP token actually had ERC 777. It's an ERC 777 implementation, which ERC 777 actually has these hooks that allow you to actually call the sender and receiver contracts from the token contract itself. So by introducing this external AMP token, they actually introduced the ability to perform these external calls through the token contract itself. So this actually allowed like the attacker to perform a reentrancy attack, which is, it's one of the main issues that we talk about when it comes to smart contract issues, is reentrancy. And basically the attacker was able to borrow so they performed a flash loan, which we talked about flash loans, was it this last week or 2 weeks ago, maybe, whenever I demoed it, right? So the attacker, initially would borrow 500 ETH in a flash loan, right? And then one of the concepts with flash loans is you have to repay it, right? All in the same transaction. But what they did is they borrowed the 500 ETH and then used that ETH as collateral to borrow 19 million AMP tokens. And then they exploited the reentrancy issue to borrow 355 more ETH. So before the balance actually got updated in the contract with the ETH they originally borrowed, they were able to go and borrow more. And then essentially use that to re-enter into the contract to liquidate the entire thing.
And that's typical. You can re-enter as many times as you want, basically, once you're introducing the code before the balance check. So they basically just drain the fund.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. In this case, it wasn't just like a single transaction. They performed, I think it was like 17 transactions where they basically just re-entered into the same contract before the balance actually ended up getting updated. So they would borrow, use it as collateral, borrow more, then liquidate part of that borrowed fund, repay the flash loan because they still have to repay the flash loan, right? And then have that profit that they took off from re-entering into the contract. And then just by doing that multiple times, they're able to drain the entire thing.
Sure, and this kind of brings up the question about secure development lifecycle, right? And having your code tested after each development cycle, sure. So we see this in the information security world as well, especially with web applications and things like that. So it applies to cryptocurrencies and these tokens as well. So I'm just getting your sheet on the wall that you said you had an audit, and then going and keeping to add new code after that. Kind of bad practice, right?
Well, and an interesting reaction I saw from a Twitter user, Talbirisec, said basically that DeFi needs an app firewall or like some kind of security control that would say, hey, basically their point was this attack happened in 17 transactions. The first transaction was anomalous and would have stolen $1 million, but then it happened 16 more times after that. So like you could basically, they repeat the same reentrancy attack. You could have like a filter that says, oh, okay, this is identified as a reentrancy attack. We're just going to pause this user's accounts or whatever, instead of letting them do 16 more of those same transaction that steals $1 million. So it's an interesting kind of concept. I don't know if does anyone know of a solution that can do that?
No, that's a good point. And I actually had some back and forth with Tal on that one. You could, in some contracts, implement a pause feature. The PancakeSwap lottery and prediction markets, I believe, both have a pause function to where you can pause the transactions and everything like that. So you would think if you could have a contract or something that monitors for these types of situations and then pauses the contract if it notices, let's say, 1 or 2 of these in succession or something like that. So I think there would be a way to do it. I don't know of any solution out there right now that hasn't implemented.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting when you think about the concept of the blockchain, the promise of decentralized everything, but then you realize that means that if someone wants to steal, $18 million, that's no one is like, are you sure you want to wire transfer that money to the Cayman Islands? Like, you know what I mean? It's just like, well, it happened because that's what the contract did, right? Like you said.
So. Oh, well, the other thing that makes it hard is that a lot of times the actual use case for these tokens is to do those flash loans, right? So like the use case is to be able to go and pull out like $1 million in a single transaction and then give it back, So it's hard to be like, oh, which one of these is actually like a malicious one, and then just pause the entire thing, right? Like if you want to have a business model, you want uptime, right? And I mean, sure, absolutely. Like I'm not trying to advocate at all against security at all, but I'm just saying like in the mindset of a lot of these projects, they probably are more worried about the uptime,
Mm-hmm. And that's we've tested plenty of. I was going to say we've all tested web app firewalls, and they all, there's always holes. So
right.
Even if you put a firewall like a pause feature, there's probably another additional bypass that says, don't pause if it's under this threshold, and then you just find out the threshold and repeat.
Well, so here's the interesting thing, right? Like, let's say that you did come up with a quote unquote web app firewall for smart contracts. It's going to be public code, right? It's like that's how it works. It's something that's deployed to the blockchain. So as an attacker, I just need to go look at the code and see what you're looking for, and then write a contract that does something around that, right?
Right. It pauses if you withdraw more than $1 million in a flash loan. So I'll just do 999,000.
Yeah.
Sure. Well, you can write something as well that monitors the mempool, right, and looks for those transactions spooling up, and then goes and pays more gas and pauses the contract before those transactions even happen. So I think there would be some ways to do that, but certainly some technical hurdles.
Gas is expensive these days, though.
Yeah.
Well, the exchange has to pay it, right? The exchange would pay any fees incurred during policing or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, especially that Ethereum gas, real expensive.
All right. So moving on. Next up, this is an exchange hack. So how do you guys think this is pronounced? Is it Bilaxy or Bilaxy?
I don't know. Does anyone speak whatever the Mandarin?
I think they're from Hong Kong. So let's just go with Bilaxy for now. Bilaxy Exchange, Hong Kong-based cryptocurrency exchange. Bilaxy was the victim of a hack. They compromised a hot wallet on its platform and saw the transfer of 295 ERC20 tokens worth more than $21 million. So, I don't think there's a whole lot of details about how this actually happened yet. They noticed some abnormal transactions. And I think they ended up moving a lot of the funds off of the wallet after they saw it, but I think it was too late at that point.
So this is an exchange. There has to be some sort of control over that hot wallet. So you probably have somebody who has access to that hot wallet is either like a developer or somebody on the back end, right? Which would mean like a fish take over that user's console. Hey, they have access. They've got the key, or the wallet is open through an SSH terminal or something like that. And somebody pivots through. So a fish type related attack there, or they had to have access to the private key somehow, I would think, unless that's available through some sort of admin portal on the exchange. where an administrator could go in there and swap funds. Maybe the key is stored somewhere in there. Can't really tell from here, but.
So I'm not too familiar with this exchange, but do you guys know, is this a decentralized exchange or is this a centralized exchange? Sounds like it's centralized.
Looks like it's centralized.
Yeah, it looks centralized to me.
Okay. Because I saw there was a stat on one of these websites that had an article that basically said that this is the 20th DeFi attack this month, referring to August, right? Because we're in September now. But technically, I guess this isn't DeFi, right?
Not with a direct exchange, I wouldn't say so. I think they probably classified it by that just because the ERC20 tokens were
right. So bundle it into crypto hacks, but still, that's a big number. 20 hacks in August 2021.
Yeah, and I mean it's also the conversation about incident response. What do you do when your exchange, when your hot wallet's exposed? I mean, obviously, I guess it depends on if it's centralized or not, but shutting down your website probably doesn't do much, right? It's like, hey, look at this poster while someone just walks out the hole in the back of the bank with all the money, right? Like, it's like, the website probably isn't the place where the attacker is doing the attack, but I guess you never know. But
all right, moving on. XToken Hack. So next up, we have an article about this XToken hack. So basically, on the 29th of August, a vulnerability in the SNX contract was exploited. They estimate the loss to holders at $4.5 million. This looks like it was a smart contract exploit for this particular one. So they were able to call the call function that was the source of the vulnerability. Should have been callable from DiDX's solo margin flash loan contract that they have integrated to improve fund performance on rebalances.
The real question is, what are these flash loans actually useful for other than stealing money?
Arbitrage cases. So let's say you have you've got 1,000 Ethereum, you want to swap it for AMP at a certain price.
Clearly
by the time you swap it back,
they have to be profitable for the exchanges because every exchange has one, right?
For sure.
I mean,
and there's typically a lot of funds transferring back and forth via those swaps. So very big target.
Yeah, really. I guess moral of the story: if you're an exchange, please monitor your flash loan contract. It's always that. It's always that. That's what we're learning.
It's definitely one of the big issues for sure.
Our exchange is more secure. We've disabled flash loans.
Sure. Yeah. So like in this case, they said an erroneous require statement allowed the function to be publicly called. So I don't know. I didn't see if this one had been audited before, but sometimes maybe it takes more than just one audit by one company to cover everything.
Well, I think this is not the first time that this particular token has had an issue too. So
usually not.
Yeah. Well, either way, again, smart contract issues. Seems like that's one of the big things we've been talking about for the most part. The last few episodes.
Yeah, it's the market share of the security industry in this space right now. Just because there's so much money and it's so new, it's kind of the Wild West still.
I mean, you got a lot of people who aren't thinking security that are literally building this as fast as they can. And in a week, copying some other code and then just rolling on. So, yeah.
Well, so that brings up a good point, right? So copying code isn't necessarily the worst thing, right? Because if you're copying code that's been audited, then you have a better chance of not having, other issues. But if you take that code and then go modify it and introduce other issues,
because somebody. I was going to say someone's probably typically trying to build a new whatever, right? They're like, oh, well, we don't like what they did there, so ours is better. Like everyone's trying to put a differentiator. Like, why should I be interested in this token or whatever? And that's where the problems come, right? So you grab
So I'm going to do a webcast next week, and one of the case studies I'm going to talk about is uranium finance. That hack that happened last year, where that they copied code from Uniswap, but they actually they went to make a few of the parameters larger in value. So they went from like 1,000 to 10,000 of whatever the token was, but they didn't change it in one spot after copying the code. And so they basically introduced a vulnerability where somebody could trade for like, $100 or whatever, and then take out like $1,000 because they basically introduced this number problem because all they did was just not, match up the numbers correctly.
It's funny. I was trading on the platform when that happened. Like literally, I had funds in there as it was happening, as it was getting drained, and it was like one of those moments where like I watched it happen and had to move my funds out like immediately. Just like, and I didn't lose anything, but other people were adding more funds because what they saw at first, they thought it was like a whale that had what do you call it? Just sold all of theirs at one time. But as soon as you see something like that, you're like, red flags started popping up. And so what happened is that when that happened, they sold, or they had took all of the funds out, and someone thought that they had just like traded, like someone who had a ton of them. And then people started putting more in there in that contract because the price or the interest had gone up a shit ton when all of it went out. They were like, oh shoot, I better get in here now. Look, some whale, changed the game up. And they were just stealing more. It's pretty funny. I mean, not if you were the one who got, weren't watching, but it's wild, dude. But yeah, literally, I'm just like, God dang it, approve. So,
oh man,
Wild West, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's the correct exact function, but I did look up that protocol that they said they were using, the DYDX protocol solo margin contract, which according to GitHub hasn't been updated since February. So, I'm not sure if it'll be updated after this, or if they just, like you said, they modified it after they did it. But it is interesting to look at some of this code that exchanges might pull is not being necessarily actively updated. I'm not sure if that's a requirement for smart contracts or trading protocols, but it seems like it potentially should be to integrate security more and more, but who knows?
No way. Yeah, they only have 204 stars, so
it's all about the
Corey.
So many forks, there's so many exchanges right there.
Yeah, Corey has a fork threshold before it's useful.
Right.
I mean, yeah, who knows how people are modifying this stuff after they fork it.
All right, moving on. So the last article we've got is this one about Banksy was warned about a website flaw before an NFT hack. So apparently, artist Banksy, super popular artist, his team was warned about a vulnerability in his website 7 days before a hacker actually scammed a fan out of $336,000.
Stored cross-site scripting.
Is that what it was? You think that's what it was?
I don't know, but I'm thinking, if you can manipulate something and they scammed somebody out of cost, maybe they were able to do some kind of pop-up or something, inject some code somewhere.
Yeah, so apparently they made it look like this was going to be the first NFT published by Banksy.
That whole injection attack where you could change the price and check out to 0, something like that. Scammed out of nearly 340,000.
I mean, that's not actually that bad considering, like, I've seen rocks, like pictures of rocks get bought for like $500,000.
The world of NFTs. And now it's mixed with Doge. Get them Doge NFTs, right?
Oh,
which also, NFTs are contracts in themselves, so require security as well. I'm just wondering how many of them are going out in such a hurry, right, without having been audited.
That'd be funny if you could like steal an NFT, like just make another copy. I mean, I don't know if that's even possible.
Dude, that's what happened to the rock one. So the Ether rocks. That's one of the first like NFTs that was developed or whatever, and there was like I think like I don't know 500 or 1,000 of them or whatever. But somebody found an issue where they could just endlessly make them. Yeah. So like, yeah, that's a thing, for sure.
Yeah, it's so weird when you compare, not only when you map the dollar values to US dollars, but also when you think about like, okay, so someone figured out how they can duplicate the Mona Lisa, which is a big deal for some reason, because you can like, it's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
There you go.
Just the thought, right? The whole point of NFT is like, wow, I could be the only owner of like one of 10, right? And I can prove that I am the one and only owner. And then someone's like, well, hold on.
Da Vinci
okay, never
actually
mind.
made 10 Mona Lisas, by the way.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
you forgot about
Did
that.
you know we found them in a bunker somewhere? He had buried them, built a bunker, buried them.
All right. So next up, Steve, you're up, dude.
All right.
PancakeSwap prediction market bot.
What?
A bot to make me money? How do I
know. I've already made $1 million on this, so nobody go clone this. All right, no
financial advice for sure.
Yeah, you guys are so getting sued.
Do not listen to a word I say. Right. So if you're not familiar with PancakeSwap, PancakeSwap is a marketplace on the Binance Smart Chain. So just like Uniswap or SushiSwap on Ethereum, you can come on here and swap tokens for each other. In this case, they're BEP20 tokens in the Binance Smart Chain world. Everything from collectibles, NFTs, you can do like trading, battles, pools, farms, all kinds of cool stuff. In this case, I'm going to talk about the prediction market. So what is the prediction market? It is a simple decentralized prediction market, which will tell you whether or not the price of the Binance coin, BNB, rise or falls within 5 minutes. So say 5 minutes from now, is the price going to be higher or lower? And then you basically make a prediction bet. So I wanted to get into learning about smart contracts and Web3. So this was my first foray into kind of combining the two. So this is where I learned about smart contracts. And if you want to read on the prediction bot, docs.pankekeswap.finance.com, you can read the actual contract. So if I refresh this page here, we can see all of the claims for the rewards, the bets, things like that, all the transactions happening on the chain. We can also read and write to the contract. What do I mean by read and write to the contract? Well, you can read the actual code of the contract, which is cool. And if you wanted to audit it, you can go look at it, because they're all open source, right? So if we want to read the contract without invoking any cost or gas or anything like that, we can. We can see the different fields here that it takes. We can see who the admin of this contract is. We can check if we have any claimable awards here, put our user address here, and then an epoch, which is a date. The current epoch, lock time, get user rounds. This will return the rounds that you have completed. So some interesting things in here. The Oracle, this Oracle address is where prices are checked. And I'll talk about this here in a second. This is one of the main ones we need to call, which is rounds. So rounds will return the start timestamp of the round, the lock timestamp for when the price is locked into the contract, basically, the end price, and the total amount of bull bets, the total amount of bear bets, the reward amounts, and has the Oracle been called. So we'll call this in our code. I'm going to go through that here momentarily too. The Oracle contract, this is the one that checks the prices. So we'll call this. If we read the latest round data, we can see the round ID when it was updated, things like that. So we can just read the contracts right from here if we wanted to. And actually, like, this just spits, when you refresh the page, it just spits out the data. And then finally, let's go look at the prediction market, or the prediction beta, they call it. So every round, you can select up or down whether or not you think in 5 minutes the price of BNB will be up or down. So in this case, I decided to write a bot that basically just guesses whether or not it's going to be up or down in 5 minutes. We know we cannot predict the market, right? So we can take some educated guesses and look at past performance, but at the end of the day, past performance does not indicate future performance all of the time. So it looks like we're about to win a round here. So we can see that we entered, and we entered the next round. So from here, I wrote this script. It is available on my GitHub if we want to paste that into somewhere. So it is open source. It is written in Python. I will cover the code right here. So if you're not familiar with Python, I'm using Python 3 here, and go find a tutorial, read about Web3. I'll probably put something together on one of our notes, and I believe at Wild West Hack and Fest, we're going to have some blockchain labs and things like that. So come by for that. So right here, we see that we're going to pull this data from dataseed.binance.org. So that's where we're going to pull our contract information from, like the connect to the web provider with Web3. We have some ABI information. This is actually contract variables. So we have to have a few of them in here for the Oracle and then BTCB, because we have a function in here to check the current price of Bitcoin and kind of use our trends based off of that too. So we have our bet bear function, and you can see we call the prediction contract. We call our wallet address as our sender address. We tell it which chain we want, the gas amount, which comes from a configuration file, and the gas price that we're willing to pay. We sign the transaction, and then we actually make the bet. Same thing with the bull bet. Have some function in here to check the claim. So did we win the last round? And if so, then pull the claim and give us the rewards. And if we look down here at the bottom of the screen, we see that we just won one of them, and our bet on the previous one was 0.006 BNB. So the bot actually went and claimed it for us. So it puts it back in our wallet so we can keep going. So Karnak says, this is the main function. If you're not familiar with Karnak the Magnificent, there's an old Johnny Carson skit where he would guess the contents of an envelope, right? And he would just say, you know, Karnak says the insides of this envelope contain. So I kind of went with that as my prediction code. So
that's awesome.
Karnak the Magnificent says bet bull or bet bear. Right, so that's basically it. It'll go from round to round. It'll give you some information, the round start time, the round end time, and then the cutoff time. So the cutoff time is right before the round ends. We need to make our bet so that it gets put onto the blockchain correctly, right? Otherwise, we won't make the round. So, like in this case, we have to make our bet before this bar gets all the way to the end, and then it'll make the next bet. So pretty cool. Everybody would want to know, what are the stats, how much you're making. So I put probably about a quarter of a BNB in this thing yesterday, and have been playing with the settings, and I'm hovering right around, I think, 48% P&L. Yeah, 47.96. So still some tweaking to go, but it's been a fun project to learn Python and Web3 and interact with the MetaMask wallet, all from code. So
Steve, will you be offended if I fork this and just make it a 50-50 random
Oh, so the way the bet originally works, because I'm terrible at math, I just say, hey, at the start of the round, check the price. At the end of the round, check the price. If the price is going up, bet up. Price is going down, but
yeah, but you're doing
I literally have an opposite flag too. So if you think opposite of that, hey, if it's going up, it's probably going to go down in the next 5 minutes. You can throw in the opposite flag.
I'm going to fork it, and I'm going to make it 50-50 shot.
Yeah,
I'll let you know how it goes.
Right?
So what you need to do though, here's actually what you should be doing. You should just be pulling flash loans right before the thing ends to make the price go up. And then bet on it to go up, and then sell it right at the end of the round.
I found the hacker. He's wearing a very conspicuous shirt, so it made it easy.
Yeah. Like how much of a flash loan would you have to do? Like $1 billion? Like, would you think that would move it any?
I think that'd move it a little bit.
That would definitely move it a
little. But hold on, wait. If you had $1 billion, do you need this? All right, whatever. Let's go back to the beginning.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about this. You can they're very few pennies. So like most of my bets, I think average $3. So it's cheap. I couldn't do this on Ethereum, right? You'd be paying a $20 gas fee to move $2. So that's the cool thing about Binance Smart Chain. It allows you to kind of play with the markets a little bit more.
Yeah, the alt ERC20 chains are pretty useful for doing that, right? Especially since a lot of them now are multi-chain. I know PancakeSwap is not, but like when we were looking at Cream, like they have like 5 different chains in there. So, you can play on whichever one you want.
And there's no vulnerabilities introduced by doing that at all. We found
no. Well, no. So
there's nothing wrong with doing multi-chain contracts. There's no.
Well, hold on. So let's think about it functionally, how it works, right? All they're doing is taking the same contract and just putting on a different chain, since they're compliant with each other. It's not actually different code. It's not special code there, and you still can't move between the chains. So like, if you're
tell that to the poly hacker.
Yeah, right.
Say, dude,
I know.
So you forgot there's an eval statement in there, right?
Yeah. So on the ones that don't allow you to like cross chain, right? Most of the exchanges, you just select what network you want to be on, and then you can trade on that network. But typically, you're not sending, a Binance token, exchanging it to a Ethereum token, right? But obviously, there's some people who thought that was a good idea. So.
Which, by the way, didn't he get a 500K reward to kind of bring it all full circle? I think he got a reward, didn't he? The poly hacker?
So they offered him it. I think he turned it down. Last I saw. So I'm not sure whether or not it's hard to say whether or not he actually took it or not. Unless he came out and publicly said that he wanted it. But last I saw that he did not actually accept it. They also offered him a job as their chief security analyst. Chief security advisor.
So basically, he's got some jury pandering, right? He's like, I didn't even take the reward. I didn't even maybe I did it, but I didn't take the reward. So the jury will be the judge.
Wait, hold on. So this is just maybe a hypothetical thing. If you you guys answer this. If you let's say you steal $1 million, but then you give it back, all of it, you're still stealing, right?
Dude, yes. The law doesn't say it's illegal to keep the money. The law doesn't say it's illegal to keep money.
Okay, all right, no, that's fair. I agree with you. I'm just thinking it out, just processing this, right?
No harm, no foul legal defense is an interesting approach.
I gave it back because I might be getting in trouble now.
I plead the 6th, which is no harm, no foul, because I totally gave it back.
Okay,
but there is that grandma's purse, but I gave it back to her once I found out that she had nothing in there.
Yeah, that's true. But as far as the law goes, there is 2 different sides, right? You have the civil, right, the money, and then you have the criminal, which is how you did it, right? Like the act that is against the law. It's against the law to steal from someone else, right? But the amount of money, that's the civil piece, right? So there would, be trying to recover that civilly, right? Like you can, you could be sued for things that you didn't commit a crime. Does that make sense? You just owe me money. You owe me money. You didn't do a crime, but I want my money. And those are kind of 2 different things, right?
No harm, no foul might work in civil.
Today's legal advice brought to you by Ralph May.
Yes, exactly. And financial advice. I double sit as a financial advisor and legal counsel. I'm not certified to do any of these things.
Hard drives are not a financial vehicle, Ralph.
What do I know? I'm just
they're not views of the CoinSec podcast. They're Ralph's views on his own.
None of the opinions contained herein come with any warranty, financial or
nothing here is financial advice.
You shouldn't listen to us when we talk about anything, especially anything I say, because I have no clue, and go talk to someone who knows, please.
But you do have Bitcoin stickers.
I mean, that's
and
about as
lots
far
of
as my
hard
life
drives.
goes.
Like if we want to talk hard drives, like Ralph's the guy to talk hard drives about. Yeah.
Legal advice: skip.
Hard drives, yes.
I got a storage loan, not a flash loan, but a storage loan.
What? One Honda Civic.
Ah. There you go, Ralph. Start a storage loan pool, flash storage.
Dude,
Flash
yeah,
storage loan.
dude, you
Yeah.
can do that. That's like basically, what is it, like
Like some file transfer stuff,
stores
man.
or
Like
Filecoin or whatever?
I need to send a file that is like 10 terabytes big. Just flash storage loan, Ralph.
Flash
you mail me
storage
you
loan.
mail me a hard drive and I don't mail it back. I think that's how it works.
In this segment, sponsored to you by Seagate.
All right, one more thing that I want to show real quick. Let me share my screen. If I can do that. Share window. All right. So if you're listening to the audio version of the podcast, obviously you can't see this, but I am doing a webcast next week on blockchain security, and one of the things that I threw together was a quick start guide of sorts to kind of just jump into blockchain hacking. So if you're interested in how do these hacks happen, how do you go about kind of getting started at least, I put together this guide at start.blockchainhacks.com. And basically, it just walks you through the process of setting up a Linux VM, and then installing Ganache, which is so Ganache is it's a piece of software that allows you to basically host your own local Ethereum blockchain, which is awesome for testing. So when it comes to actually what we were talking about a little bit ago with the gas fees, you can't just go deploy stuff to the mainnet of Ethereum very easily because it's very expensive. But you can either deploy to a test network, so there are test networks that are publicly available as well, or you can just host your own. So you could install Ganache and just host your own. And so I walk you through how to set that up. You can give your accounts as much ETH as you want. I'm
rich.
Then make yourself rich. Set up MetaMask, so you can actually interact with your wallets. You can import your various private keys to interact there. Remix IDs, one of the main toolkits for developing Solidity. It's great because you can actually compile code. You can deploy it straight from the browser. You point it at your local Ganache instance. And then Truffle is another development framework that allows you to publish contracts as well. So Truffle is really nice because it has integrations with Ganache. So when you actually publish or deploy contracts from from Truffle, you can actually see a lot of the details of it in Ganache itself. So if you wanted to actually see what's the contract address you're interacting with, what are the transactions associated with that specific contract, you can do that. And then a few basic steps for just deploying a smart contract. I included an example from the Mastering Ethereum book in here for just creating a basic faucet, just to create an Ethereum faucet in your private blockchain. So I walk through just some basic instructions for deploying that, using Truffle to migrate it. Also with Remix, to kind of show how you can use Remix to do the same thing. One of the interesting things about Remix is when you deploy from Remix, you can actually see the functions deployed with a contract in the browser itself. So if you deployed something you wanted to interact with, it makes it really easy to just go in here and actually click insert values for these functions that you want to interact with and just run it straight from the browser. And then lastly, just a quick page on some of the basic vulnerability scanning tools that are out there. So how to quickly go run Slither and Mithril against your smart contracts to get an idea of some of the vulnerabilities at play. So
it's cool. And those are both open source scanners.
Yep, both those are open source scanners. So when's the webcast? So next week it is the 9th. So if you're listening to this next week, September 9th is when I'm doing the blockchain security webcast for Black Hills Information Security.
Very cool.
Sweet. I'll be there.
Awesome.
That's a great getting started guide there, Bo.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, so this is like I guess like the initial kind of jumpstart guide that we're kind of putting together, because so Steve and I are also building out a like a blockchain hacking lab for Wow's Hackin' Fest, which will have a bunch of labs too. But in addition to that, later in the year, we're actually going to do a 4-hour workshop where this is going to be kind of like the pre-start kind of guide, kind of just jumping in, and then we're also going to have like a lengthier 4-hour workshop that we're going to do later in the year as well. So if you want to get a head start on it, jump on in there. It's start.blockchainhacks.com. But yeah, with that, I mean, that's pretty much it. You guys got anything else to chat about?
Watch your flash loan contracts, people.
Yeah.
Yeah. So here you go. What's your prediction on flash loan exploits that'll happen within this next week that we'll end up talking about next week?
I think there's going to be some PancakeSwap. No, I'm just kidding.
100% guarantee we'll have at least one new one.
Yeah, and if we don't, I bet 1 ETH will have a new one. And if we don't, then I'll do it, and that way I definitely win. So that's how you predict it. Well, I'll do it.
You do a flash loan on ETH chain day, your fees are going to be more than 1 ETH.
Maybe. Whatever.
That's a good point. Awesome. Well, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Really appreciate all you guys listening. Make sure you go subscribe so that we know you guys are listening. And then, Twitter, follow us on Twitter. Ralph, Steve, Corey, thank you guys so much. Ryan, thanks for running the show. And we'll catch you guys next week. Take it easy.
Bye.
Bye, guys.